You've got your hands in the dirt, seeds in the ground, sun on your face. It's the dream, right? You finally decided to start your own organic garden and you're all in. You're watering every day, adding compost twice a week, singing to your basil, giving your cucumbers pep talks. You care a lot, and that's beautiful. But your basil looks like it's given up on life. Your cucumbers taste like regret. Your spinach turned yellow overnight and then just disappeared. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. In fact, the #1 mistake most beginners make in organic gardening is this: overloving your garden. It sounds crazy, right? You're supposed to care, you're supposed to be hands-on. But here's the truth: plants don't need helicopter parents. They need support, yes, but they also need space to figure it out on their own. Too much love, especially in the form of overwatering, overfeeding, or overpruning, can literally smother them. Let's talk about watering, because this is the big one. Most people think more water equals more growth, but nope. Too much water suffocates the roots. It blocks oxygen. Roots rot. Leaves start yellowing or drooping, and then you panic and water even more. It becomes a vicious cycle. The fix? Water deeply, but less often. A good soak 2 to 3 times a week is better than a daily splash. Stick your finger into the soil. If the top 1 to 2 inches are dry, it's time to water. If it's still moist, let it be. Same thing with compost and fertilizer. Organic gardening is all about feeding the soil, not the plant. But when you start dumping compost or fish emulsion every few days, you're overloading the system. Nutrients build up, pH gets weird, and your plants get stressed. Once every 3 to 4 weeks is plenty. Trust the process. The soil will do its job if you don't interfere too much. And let's not forget the pruning obsession. We get it, dead leaves look ugly, but if you're constantly cutting every imperfect part, you're interrupting the plant's natural cycle. Let the plant decide when it's done with a leaf. Organic gardening is a long game. It's less about doing more and more about learning when to step back, when to observe, when to wait. The plants aren't fragile. They're not helpless. They've been growing for millions of years without us. Your job is to support, not control. So take a breath, put down the watering can, step back from the compost, and give your plants a little room. You'll be amazed what happens when you stop trying so hard. Sometimes the best way to grow your garden is to chill. You've got this, and your basil, it'll bounce back as long as you let it. Let nature do her thing. Let's move on to the next big mistake, because we're just getting started. Alright, so you've got your gloves on, you're hyped up from that plant shopping spree, and now your garden is bursting with potential. You've got tomatoes, lettuce, strawberries, peppers, maybe even a watermelon or two. You're excited, so you dig holes and stick them wherever you find space. You're planting with your heart. But here's the truth, no plan equals no harvest. One of the biggest mistakes new gardeners make, especially in organic gardening, is just planting stuff randomly. You see a patch of soil and think, cool, I'll put this here. But the thing is, not all plants are friends. Not all plants want the same things. And some, they're straight up garden bullies. Let's talk about sunlight first. Some plants are full sun fanatics. They want all-day exposure. Think tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, but others, like lettuce or spinach, actually hate the midday heat. Stick those shade lovers in full sun, and you'll have bitter, wilted greens begging for mercy. Now add in water needs. Some plants are thirsty, others like it dry. If you stick water-loving herbs like basil next to something like rosemary, which prefers drier conditions, someone's going to suffer. And let's not even start on space. Zucchini? That thing is a beast. It spreads, climbs, and takes over like it's on a mission. If you plant it right next to your carrots, kiss your carrots goodbye. That's why planning matters. You don't need a blueprint or a fancy app, just a few minutes with a notebook or even a scrap piece of paper. Here's what you should plan for. Sun and shade. Walk around your garden at different times of day. Where does the sun hit in the morning? Where is it shady by afternoon? Place sun-hungry crops in bright spots and reserve partial shade for cooler plants. Water needs group plants that have similar watering needs. It'll make your life easier and your plants happier. Spacing. Check those plant tags or seed packets. Give everything room to grow. It might look empty at first, but trust me, it'll fill in fast. Companion planting. This one's a game changer. Some plants boost each other's growth or protect each other from pests, like basil and tomatoes. Basil helps repel pests that love tomatoes. Beans and corn, great combo. But fennel? Keep it away from basically everything. It's a loner. And here's a pro tip. Keep your aggressive plants in check. Mint is amazing, but it'll take over your entire garden if you give it the chance. Plant it in pots. Same goes for lemon balm and oregano. So before you get too excited and start planting like it's a free-for-all, pause, plan. A little thought now saves a ton of headaches later. Your plants won't just survive, they'll thrive. And when you start seeing those veggies grow like crazy, you'll know it was worth taking the time. Next up, we're going deep, literally. Let's talk about your soil, because what's going on underground is everything. Alright, so your garden is planted, things are starting to sprout, you're feeling good. And then suddenly, boom, yellow leaves, droopy stems, pests, weeds, weird spots on your tomatoes. And you're like, what is happening? Let me break it to you gently, it's probably your soil, and your approach to nature might be all wrong. Let's start with mistake number 3. Treating soil like it's just dirt. A lot of new gardeners think soil is just a place to stick the plants. But if your soil is dead, your plants don't stand a chance. Healthy living soil is everything in organic gardening. It's the heart of the system. We're not just talking about dirt. We're talking about a whole ecosystem under there. Tiny organisms, fungi, bacteria, worms, all working together to feed your plants. If your soil is dry, compacted, gray, or crusty, it's basically lifeless. And lifeless soil equals sad garden. So how do you bring it back to life? Start with compost. Real, rich, dark compost. It doesn't have to be fancy. Kitchen scraps, yard waste, whatever you've got. Add it to your beds before planting, mix it into your soil and top up every few weeks. It builds structure, feeds microbes, and holds water better. Next, mulch. This is your secret weapon. A thick layer of mulch, straw, shredded leaves, grass clippings, keeps your soil moist, regulates temperature, and slowly breaks down to feed the soil. Bonus? It also smothers weeds before they take over. You don't need chemical fertilizers. You don't need to overfeed. If your soil is healthy and alive, your plants will get exactly what they need. No guesswork, no stress. Now let's talk about mistake number 4, fighting nature. You see one bug on a leaf and you panic. Out comes the neem oil, garlic spray, vinegar mix. You're spraying everything like your garden is under attack. But here's the deal. Not all bugs are bad. In fact, some bugs are your best friends. Ladybugs eat aphids. Lacewings take care of whiteflies. Bees and butterflies? They help pollinate your plants. When you start blasting everything with homemade sprays, you're killing the good guys too. And guess what? Pests bounce back faster than predators. That means when the balance is messed up, the bad bugs take over even worse than before. Same goes for weeds. Yes, they can be annoying, but ripping them all out leaves your soil exposed, dry, and stressed. A few weeds aren't the enemy, they're clues. Dandelions, for example, show your soil might be compacted. Clover means it's low on nitrogen. Use that info. Alright, let's talk about working with nature. Don't fight it, folks. Want fewer pests in your garden? Well, consider planting flowers that attract beneficial insects, like calendula, dill, or nasturtiums. And if you're aiming for better soil, just let some leaves break down naturally over time. It's all about building a little balance. You see, organic gardening isn't about control, it's really about harmony. Once you stop treating your garden like a battle zone and start seeing it as a system, everything just gets easier. Trust me. Now let's move on to the last and most painful mistake. This is the one that kills dreams before they even get started. Let's dive into it. Okay, you've made it this far. You've learned about overwatering, planting without a plan, soil issues, and letting nature do her thing. But let's be real. Even with all that knowledge, there's one more mistake that crushes more gardens and gardeners than anything else. Mistake number 5. Quitting too soon. We've all been there. You start with so much energy, you're pumped. You've got your gloves, your seedlings, maybe even a Pinterest board with garden goals. And then, nothing. The seeds don't sprout, or they sprout and then shrivel. Maybe a squirrel eats your kale. Maybe your tomatoes catch some weird fungus, and then you feel like a failure. You throw in the towel, shove your garden tools in the shed, and tell yourself, I just don't have a green thumb. But here's the truth, it's not you, it's the process. Organic gardening is not fast, it's not perfect, it's not even predictable. It's a living, breathing experiment that changes every day depending on the weather, the bugs, the soil, the moon, the mystery of life itself. It's normal to mess up. It's part of how you learn. Seriously, ask any experienced gardener. They've all had disasters, whole beds wiped out by aphids, seeds that never sprouted, tomatoes that looked fine one day and collapsed the next. You're not failing, you're learning. And with each failure comes something priceless: experience. You figure out which plants love your spot and which ones don't. You learn how often your garden really needs watering. You realize some things grow better in containers. You remember to plant marigolds next time. You start noticing things you never did before. The way the leaves curl when they're thirsty, the little bugs that show up at sunset, how the soil smells when it's healthy. That's growth. And it only happens when you stick with it. You don't have to grow everything perfectly your first season. Start small. Focus on just a few crops. Keep a notebook. Take pictures. Celebrate the little wins, like your first baby cucumber or a handful of herbs. Trust me, your second season will be way better than your first. By year 3, you'll be giving away zucchinis and showing off your compost like it's gold. So don't quit. Don't let a few yellow leaves or a failed batch of radishes stop you. Your garden doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to be yours. And guess what? By watching this video, by staying till the end, you're already way ahead of the game. You're not just hoping things grow, you're showing up, learning, and trying again. That's what makes a real gardener. So go out there, make the mistakes, plant the seeds, watch what happens, and when it all finally clicks, you'll remember this moment. Now hit that like button if you learned something, share this with someone who needs a garden glow up, and subscribe for more real, honest garden talk. Let's grow together.